WAFL season is just days away and it promises to be a huge year for local footy. Hello and welcome to a special edition of The Game, and we're coming to you from the scene of last year's grand final between Subiaco and South Fremantle. The Lions, of course, reigning supreme, no surprise in local footy. Great to have your company, Mark Reddings, alongside Chief Football Writer for the West Australian, Mark Duffield. And for the purpose of this show, former WAFL star with East Perth and Peel, Will Schofield. Boys, great to be here, and footy is on our doorstep in the WAFL.
Skeet, it's wonderful to be here. I always love the start of the WAFL season. It was what I grew up with, and there's a special kind of excitement about it. Great local footy.
No question, and Will, you've been there, done that in local footy, albeit for a short period of time. Enjoyable time for you in your career?
Yeah, I was. It was over a long period of time as well. Played for Peel Thunder when I first came over here as a young whippersnapper, and then East Perth, and then West Coast WAFL, and then back to Peel. So I almost got all 9-10 clubs done.
Exactly. Well, through the course of the show, we'll run through some of our favourite moments in WAFL history. Off the bat, we decided to do the job for Will Schofield, given his short tenure in the WAFL. This is one that stands out for us, Scoey.
Oh, so it's an absolute stitch-up, is it? Yeah, perfect. The scaffolding, Will Schofield. It looks like I was sit there just perfectly for Liam Ryan. I reckon that was the third mark that he took that season on my head.
Yes, and he went on to bigger and better things, of course. Premiership player at the West Coast Eagles alongside your good self. Let's run through some of the clubs that will, we think, play a part or not in the season to come in 2022. And we begin with Claremont, a side that is always thereabouts. Ashley Prescott in charge. They finished third last season, 13 wins, 5 losses. Scully, this is a team that has got the talent, they've got the potential to go deep in September and potentially October.
Well, we saw their captain Declan Mountford play for West Coast. He debuted for them a couple of weeks back now, and look, they've been a successful side for a long time. They've built a culture of success, and I'll be expecting a lot from Claremont this year. They're a hard-running team, especially through the midfield. They play well at home. They've got a lot of good things going for them, and look, they haven't made a lot of additions or lost a lot of players, so I think we expect much of the same this year as we did last year with Claremont.
Bailey Rogers, the Sandover medalist, teaming up with Jai Bolton. That is an imposing duo inside the centre square with no Kane Mitchell, who of course has retired. East Fremantle, this is a team that's a big watch, Mark Duffield, because they've had some setbacks during the pre-season because of players leaving to go to West Coast principally.
So no fault of their own, Skeet. Basically, they've lost top-up players to West Coast. Luke Stranatica, Hugh Dixon have both gone down the road to West Coast. Hugh Dixon has actually played a couple of AFL games already, so he's a big loss. They bought in height to replace him with Jeremy Goddard from Claremont, so that's a good get for them. But they're going to be one of the clubs who is going to struggle to fill those holes that have been dug for them late.
Absolutely. They finished 6th last year, 2 games and percentage outside the top 5. But their squad, there's a lot of optimism there. Matthew Jupp, the captain, believes the time is now for the Sharks to play finals footy. Bear in mind, they're playing all their home games for the next 2 seasons at the WACA ground, with their home ground down in East Fremantle being redeveloped. Well, we've seen Scoey's moment with Liam Ryan sitting on his ears. What about for you, Mark Duffield? We have to go back to 1980. No surprise, given your South Fremantle heritage.
Yeah, I was actually here. So I was 16 years old. I was standing on the hill in front of the scoreboard, saw Morris Rioli and Stephen Michael absolutely dominate this game for South. Swans had been the early pace setter this year, and this was an emphatic performance by South.
Led by Malcolm Gregory Brown, South Fremantle 1980, they brutalised Swan Districts. Mind you, the year before, East Fremantle in that massive derby in front of 52,000 fans got the job done. A year later, in 1981 against Claremont, the Tigers beat your beloved Bulldogs. So some history there for South Fremantle and particularly Mark Duffield. What about East Perth? And we talk about teams that need to show something. Real concern, Will Schofield, with some of their list changes, and we know that Jeremy Barnard has got Tony McHale in to help him out this year. They need to start making some improvements on the ladder.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Tony McHale's a great coach, so he should be able to put something together for me. He was my first backline coach in the AFL, so he should be able to help a lot. They gain Hamish Brayshaw, who's come from West Coast WAFL side. He'll be good. They've lost a lot of experience, so they've lost some really core players to that group. So they need to improve, but will they? I'm not sure yet, Skate.
Yes, 6 wins and 12 losses in season 2021. Jackson Ramsey, so important, the captain of the side. He's had plenty of injuries over the past 12 to 18 months. If he can stay fit and sound, then East Perth, hopefully for their supporters, can climb up the ladder this year. We move to Peel, and a team, as we know, can be either stricken with loss of players because of the Fremantle Dockers, the alignment, Mark Duffield. proved a boon going back in the mid-2015-16 period, but of course they can also be hurt badly by lack of availability.
So they live and die by the availability of the Fremantle Dockers players, basically. And the signs have been good for them in the pre-season. They've had good pre-season results. A couple of key losses, though. Ben Howlett leaves. He's been a real stalwart for them in recent seasons. Also, Brady Hoff, they lost him to West Coast. He's already played AFL footy, so he's a significant out. A bloke called Will Schofield. I don't know a lot about him, but he'll be a bit of a loss, I would imagine.
So I'm standing here. I was waiting for you to get to the top of the losses there, mate. Will Schofield's out. No longer Will Schofield at the Peel Thunder Footy Club.
I'll tell you what, though, Scoey's saved some petrol money driving down the freeway to get to Mandurah and train with Peel Thunder. Can you see them making the top 5, Duff?
I think it's going to depend very heavily on availability of Freo players, and that's going to depend very heavily on how COVID affects Fremantle as the season goes on. At some stage, you'd expect Fremantle to be decimated and therefore Peel to be decimated.
Well, it wasn't COVID, but injuries which decimated the Demons last year. 4 wins, 14 losses, and Perth coming off that finals campaign in 2020, a shortened season against West Perth. They didn't get across the line, but Will Schofield, they've got some important players back this year, including Fraser McInnes.
They do, and that finals game was, great for the fans, great for the members of Perth Footy Club. So they gained Fraser McInnes, so they, as you say, they should get better, the Perth Footy Club, but the supporters and the players, they want success, as always. It's a very passionate supporter base, so I think they can do it. I think they can play finals this year.
We'll take that on board. Will Schofield, the Demons, to return to September action, which would be a delight for the Demons supporters. Stay with us, plenty more to come. This is a WAFL special of the game coming to you from Optus Stadium. And of course, when it comes to all the WAFL action, you can go to the West for all the latest news.
We want to go all the way this year. The last few years it's been a bit heartbreaking, so tough pill to swallow.
I feel like we've been building for a number of years now. We finished off the season really well last year and built a bit of momentum, and we're ripe and ready to go.
Long season like all years, but we just got to worry about the first 4 games, Skeet, and just worry about getting a couple of wins on the board and starting well.
We want to get back to that finals mix. Over the last couple of years we've been pretty close, but just haven't been able to finish off game.
It's been a long pre-season as you do get older, but I think the group as a collective is in really good shape. Made some good strides forward in our fitness and our strength, so we just got to deliver it now in the park.
Yes, they are some of the captain's call ahead of season 2022. Great to have your company. This is the Game WAFL special coming to you from Optus Stadium. We're rolling through the 10 sides and where we think they might finish this year. We've got to South Fremantle, a club you know pretty well, Mark Duffield. They've had a really good run over the past 5 or 6 seasons, but they've got some player losses.
They have. There's some big ins and some big outs at South Fremantle. Brendan Archie is a really big in back from West Coast. He'll be a significant player in the WAFL this year. But the outs are just as significant. Jacob Dragovic, Brock Higgins, Jesse Motlop, Matthew Parker goes back to Richmond, Blaine Wilson, Jason Mascott, Cody Ninyat. These are all senior players. I'm pretty worried about South. I think they can hold ground, but whether they can make ground on Subiaco, I don't know. And clearly, based on Grand Final day, there's a lot of ground to make.
Yes, plenty of quality there. Mason Shaw is one who'll stay in the forward 50 to give them some potency, and Hayden Sloyth, always a dominant player, just gets so much of the footy. As I said, the past 6 years, 3 preliminary finals, 3 grand finals, that 2020 flag. They have been a powerhouse, but can they stay there? Because there's one team that they all have to beat again, I suspect, Will Schofield, Subiaco, who've been outstanding. They're the team of the modern century in the WAFL. How do you get past them?
Well, I mean, some people are sick of seeing them win, but you've got to respect the ability to keep coming back and having success as a football club. Now, they'll lose players to the AFL like they usually do. Greg Clark, Erasmus, Nick Martin, they all move on. They've added some, though, as well. Steph Giro, Jordan Snadden, he's a former West Coast player. So I think, like Subiaco, they'll continue to find a way. They'll be right up the top of the ladder like usual, and they won't drop away. I don't see them dropping away. They're an incredibly strong side, midfield, forward line, back line. They've got strength all over the ground.
Yes, Bo Wardman, Lee Kitchen, they keep coming up with a team to be competitive, and they are the benchmark in the WAFL. 5 flags from the past 8 years, quite extraordinary.
It's amazing, mate. Like, I was here on the Grand Final day here at Optus Stadium, and seeing Subiaco, I mean, it wasn't embarrassing for South Freo, but they really were a better team on the day by a long way. So hopefully they come back for competition's sake.
And in terms of what we're talking, premierships, you've had your moment, Duff. yours and now, Scully, let's...
1977.
Yep.
Let's go all the way back there. Now, I was born in 1989. I wasn't even thought of. I was well and truly not thought of. What's going on back in those days, Skate?
Yeah, 1977 is my memorable moment in the WAFL. That's the last time my club, Perth, won a premiership. Alan Johnson, let's go through this. Murray Cooper, and we thrashed East Fremantle, record score. Look at the crowd there. But 1977, 23 plus 22, 45 years. It's been a long wait. The late, great Ken Armstrong with back-to-back flags in 1976 and 77. To the present and Swan Districts, a team which made the finals in 2021, Mark. They fell at the first hurdle, but they were terrific up there at Joondalup.
They were. It was a good solid season from Swans. They're coached by Adam Pickering. Can they climb further? I wonder. They've got good ins. Jared Cameron comes back from West Coast. Jarvis Pena from Peel, obviously a Fremantle rookie listed player. Toby Watson from Fremantle Dockers, and Will Collins, who was mid-year drafted by West Coast last year. Their losses are Alex Howard and Matt Riggio. So I think Swans, if anything, can improve a bit.
Yep, they are a team which has got some real upside. 10 wins, 8 losses last year. Can they improve and push deeper into the finals campaign? Interesting club, West Coast Eagles, given what's happening with their AFL team. They picked up the wooden spoon last year. Will Schofield, Rob Wiley. It's a big job to take on.
Yeah, favourite son returns. Rob Wiley, he'll coach his first season this year. Look, I mean, West Coast's involvement in the WAFL has been, well, not doomed since the beginning, but it's been a bit affected by what's gone on at AFL level. They haven't had the access to the AFL players they thought they'd have. They've had issues with acquiring, amateur players from around the state. So they will, the only way is up, I think, for West Coast. If they get access to their West Coast players, their listed players, I think they'll have a decent season.
Yes, just 4 wins in 2021. We move to West Perth, and always competitive. They've got some names coming back into the lineup, including Darren Harris, the coach, who'll give them a nice bit of romance. One of the greats of the club returns.
He is a great player at West Perth. Obviously, he comes back because Jeff Valentine has moved to Peel. Good ins for West Perth. I think West Perth are going to be a contender, guys. So Anton Hamp joins from Claremont. Mark Hutchings, obviously great servant of both West Perth and West Coast. Ben Johnson comes back from West Coast. Luke Meadows, the big-bodied midfielder, he'll be a big in for the Falcons. And Aidan Lynch from East Perth. A few losses. Steve Patenti goes. Tom Medhat, who was an NGA type, a good young player, he's gone to East Perth. And, of course, favourite son Jason Salicic has finally hung up the boots for good.
So you've got them as a contender. I've got them in the top 5. Will?
Yeah, go on, chuck them in there.
Absolutely. Why not? For the sake of the purpose, this is the WAFL game, a special coming to you with just days to go before the Easter blockbuster over Good Friday, Easter Saturday. Can't wait for round 1. Stay with us. More to come here on the game from Optus Stadium.
Boys are very excited. Disappointing finish to the year last year, but obviously we're expecting bigger things again and hopefully go one more.
There's been some real key pillars move on to bigger opportunities, so an opportunity for other guys to step up, so the appetite's definitely there.
Very exciting. Looking forward to it a lot since we had our first game on the weekend with a few young blokes, and it's sort of a new team in.
Got a few new recruits, Pinner and Toby back and Jared, so the season's looking very good. We've been playing quite well in practice games, so it's very exciting.
I've got really high expectations this year. Obviously picked up a few really important players. Mark Hutchings, Ben Johnson have come back from West Coast.
Yes, some of the captains ahead of the 2022 WAFL season. Welcome back to the game, a WAFL special coming to you from Optus Stadium. Great to have your company. Let's touch on a big issue when it comes to the WAFL and WA footy. Top-up players in season 2022. Duff, where do you sit with where it's headed?
Look, I know it's been forced on us, Skeet, but I think it's a good idea. I think anything that provides opportunity and flexibility for second-tier players to have opportunity at the top level is good. I think we saw in the West Coast North Melbourne game they can hold their own. And I don't know, Will, you've played at both levels. What do you think in terms of incentivising second-tier players?
Oh, I just think it's a great thing. I mean, I think more mature age recruits should be taken in the draft. So if this is a way to get them, at first hand into the system, then great. I mean, could we roll this out in a non-COVID period? I realise we've got lists and list sizes to maintain, but I think it's something we could use going forward.
And we go back to the mid-season draft, which is now almost part of the furniture in the AFL and the WAFL system. Marlon Pickett, Matthew Parker, just to name a couple of players that have been there and done that.
I prefer the top-up system to the mid-season draft, I have to say. The notion that a player can suddenly be scooped up in the middle of the year, that appeals less than the notion that a club could pre-list a player and then use him as necessary.
OK, well, it's a huge match happening early in the WAFL season. Northampton and the drama they went through with Cyclone Saroja. It was a terrible time for the community, but they have bounced back. So many big names. It's such a wonderful heritage of football royalty in that part of the world. And East Fremantle about to go up there and play East Perth. And there's a great moment for the likes of Paul Hazelby, Josh Kennedy, the Cripps boys, Harry Taylor. Magnificent.
Is there a country town anywhere in Australia that could pick a better AFL WAFL team than Northampton? I doubt it. Not one of that size.
I mean, that's the Hall of Fame there they've put up on the main street. I think most of the guys involved there, an incredibly proud moment to be, immortalised in statue form.
And the big news, of course, apart from having a WAFL game up there, raising terrific funds for the community, which is still, let's be honest, getting back on its feet. And a big shout out to the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries for their financial support and ongoing support with matches such as these. Cyclone Saroja did so much damage, but hopefully giving something back to the community. The Rams up there, Andrew Lockyer, all the team have done a wonderful job in getting this football match up and running. The WA Football Commission playing its role as well. When it comes to footy royalty, we've talked about those that have been and gone. One player we'd love to see out for the West Coast Eagles in the not-too-distant future is Jamie Cripps, and he spoke about the importance of the game for his old hometown.
Yeah, it's obviously massive for the town. Hopefully we get a really good turnout for the game. Yeah, WAFL is a great standard, so this game will raise some good money for the town, but to actually get a game at Northampton, got rid of all the rabbit holes that were around, so yeah, the deck will be nice, got the lights there as well, so it'd be a great event.
Yes, the end of April, and Northampton, they're expecting a crowd of around 1,000 people. The ground, it's been decked out, so much work going into making sure it is up to scratch and looking pristine for the Sharks up against the Royals. Let's get into some predictions for this year. Always fraught with danger when you bring out the crystal ball, Scully. It is always going to end up in tears at some stage. But one thing we do know, at this ground, in May, before the Eagles take on Melbourne, a state game, WA versus the Crow Eaters. And whatever level you're playing, if you can represent your state or your country, it's magnificent, and this is a case in point with the WA players.
Well, it is, and it's a bit earlier this year than it usually is. Last year it didn't go as well as Western Australia would have liked. They ended up getting absolutely smashed, 53 points at Adelaide Oval, 130 to 77. So if there's some pride in the jumper, I think out here in May before the Melbourne West Coast game, it's a chance for players to show their stuff.
Absolutely.
You've got to beat South Australia. Seriously, when I was growing up, we knew the Vics had beat us before State of Origin, but you have to beat the South Aussies.
Yeah, it's almost like a little brother situation up against the Big V. You always knew that if you couldn't beat South Australia, good luck against the Victorians. Let's turn our attention to you, Duff, and a talking point you want to touch on. It's football, WAFL football, being played in Kalgoorlie for the first time.
Yeah, I love this, Skeet, and the reason I love it is that had things moved a little bit differently, Kalgoorlie may have its own team in the WAFL. There was a push to have a Kalgoorlie team in the WAFL. Peel got the nod ahead of them. It was in the early 90s. It's a very strong football heritage. Of course, our favourite footballer to come out of the goldfields is probably Dean Kemp, the Rolls Royce of the West Coast midfield in those great Mick Malthouse coach teams in the 1990s. But certainly, this is a great venue to play a WAFL match.
And my talking point for this year in the WAFL is the blue card. It's groundbreaking, it's new, and it involves the player's safety. If a player is taken, head-high contact, forcible, and an opponent is deemed reported, both players go off the ground for 15 minutes, a scat test on the victim, and both players can come back, but it's a fantastic move, I think, by the WA Footy Commission.
Well, it's a first in Australia. It's a great system. I was trying to come up with, when I heard about it, if it would have affected me during my career, but I don't think so. I don't think I got anyone high, Duff.
You would have been the one doing the scat test, not the one sent off and being reported, I reckon.
Right, I
reckon 2019 semi-final, MCG, Tom Hawkins might have been in a bit of froth and bubble.
Either way, it's a terrific initiative, as we say, groundbreaking in the WA Football Commission. There'll be eyes from the AFL and other state leagues having a look how that works. The blue card, my talking point for 2022. Stay with us. Back to wrap it up after this. And, of course, all the footy action during the course of the year comes to you in the West. Great to have your company on the Game, a WAFL special. We'll wrap it up with some predictions for season 22. Mark Duffield, your premier and your standover medalist.
Can't go past Subiaco. I think they're the team to beat. They are relentless. They just set a standard that others struggle to match. I'm going to go for Bailey Rogers to go back-to-back in the Sandover.
Well, I can go straight past Subiaco down the road to Peel Thunder. They'll win the flag this year, and Tyrone Thorne in the guts for Peel. He'll win the Sandover.
I think that's heart ruling the head. I think the Tigers will win the flag this year, and I think that Luke Meadows from West Perth will be the Sandover medalist. So much footy in 2022. Matches in Northampton, of course in Kalgoorlie, Swans and Subiaco. Thanks to Rio for their support. And what about this? Good Friday footy into Easter Saturday. It's Subiaco South Fremantle, the grand final rematch. You'll see that on 7. Of course, if you can't get to the footy, online, AFL app, AFL On Demand, you can see all the action online in season 2022. But most importantly, get to the WAFL, get to see your team in 2022, support your side, and hopefully we'll see you there first weekend of the season.